So I've already drafted out my front and back piece. This is the front piece, so I'm going to cut it on a fold. This is what my back pattern looks like. I added 1.5-inch sewing allowance for the zip. To avoid the bulge that you do see at the back of the dress, what I did was to just take out 3/4 from the waist, so I connected the lines to the neck depth and the hip of my pattern. And also I replaced the 3/4 that I took from the waist. I replaced it back to the other side of the waist. After I'm done doing that, I'll go ahead and cut off the excess. The first thing I'm going to do is to cut out my lining, then I'll go ahead and cut out my fabric. I've gone ahead to cut out both the front and the back lining, and this is what they look like. This is what I'll be using for my main fabric. I really love this fabric, but I think I spoiled it by using a dull lining on it because I could not find the exact shade of lining for this fabric. So after cutting my lining, what I did next was that I marked 2 inches on my fabric. I marked 2 inches from the bottom to the hem of my fabric. So what I'm going to do is to cut them out one by one, and I also numbered it, like I numbered it 1 to 3 to the end, so that I will not mix it up when I'm placing it on my main fabric. After cutting it up, I've gone ahead to place it on my main fabric. I did it off camera to save time. Basically, I started from the hem of the pattern, like to place all this pattern, I started from the hem. So between each pattern, I left about 1/2 inch between them. And I pinned the pattern on the fabric. This is quite easy. It will just take you some time. It was after making the dress I realized the 1 inch might be quite much, so you can go ahead and use 1/2 inch to yours if you don't mind. Also, if you have a gathering foot, this will really come handy in this project because I did not like how it came out at all. So once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and cut off my fabric. This is what the front pattern looks like once I was done cutting, and this is what the back pattern looks like once I was done cutting also. The next step to do is to sew a straight stitch by the side of my fabric, and I'm going to gather it. This took a while for me. That's why I said if you have a gathering foot, this will really come in handy. So once I was done gathering it, the next step I'm going to do is that I'm going to place the gathered fabric on top of my lining. Then I'm going to pin the main fabric to the lining. Once I was done pinning it, the first step to do is to stitch the neckline. Then I'm going to stitch up the side by 1/2 inch. So guys, this is what the front and the back looks like once I was done stitching it up. So I've gone ahead to stitch up my back together. After that, I'll go ahead and join the shoulders together. Once I was done joining the shoulder and the side of my front and back together, I'm just going to measure the length of my bodice, my desired length, where I want the curve or the slant, whatever you want to call it, to start from. I think I made mine about 33 inches. I'm going to mark it on the 33 inches. Then I did the same for the other side. I'm going to mark 33 inches. And after that, I went down by about 3 to 4 inches from the 33 inches I marked already. The chalk wasn't quite clear on the fabric. I'm sorry about that. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to take my curve rule and just draw a slant line to join my marked points together. The next step is to cut it off. This is the lining I cut off. Basically, what I did was to remove it from the main fabric. What I'm going to do next is to cut it off into smaller bits, just like I did for the main bodice. For the next step, all you have to do is to make sure you get at least twice the size of the pieces you cut off. Mine was actually not up to twice the size of that, but I still made it work. So the length of this fabric is about 20 inches, I think. If you also notice, you see that this fabric is on fold. What I'm trying to do here is to get the length of the curved line right there. Then I'm going to measure twice the size on my other fabric. I'll go ahead and place out the cutout piece on the extra fabric. If you also notice, the joining of this gathered part will be by the side. So after placing it, I think I left about 2.5 inches space between them, or 3 inches, I'm not sure. If you want the gathering part to be full, you have to leave extra inches between the cutout piece. I would have loved to leave more inches between mine, but I don't have enough fabric. So basically, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure it, pin it down. Once I was done pinning it, I'll go ahead and cut it off. So because this fabric is transparent, I'm going to use another fabric as the lining. So this will be much more longer than the first one. The first one was about 20 inches, I think. So this will be like maybe 10 inches or 8 inches long. If your fabric is not transparent like mine, you don't have to go through this process again. What I'm going to do is to place the first fabric I cut out. I'm going to place it on it and just trace it out. Note that the longer part is the one that's going to be outside, while the shorter one is going to be inside. I mean, the shorter one is going to serve as the lining. I'll go ahead and cut this out. Once I'm done cutting, I'm going to gather both of the fabric, then I'm going to join it to my main bodice. For the sleeve, I've actually drafted out my pattern for the sleeve too, and I'll be doing the same thing I did for my bodice to my sleeve. So what I'm going to do is to number it, and I'm going to cut it off. To cut the sleeves together, I'm going to fold the fabric into 4. Then I'm going to place my pattern on the fabric to cut it out. I think I left about 1 inch between the patterns, but you can basically leave 2 inches if you want more ruffles on your sleeve. Once I'm done with that, I'm just going to cut this off. So basically, this is what the sleeve looks like after cutting it. Instead of using elastic for the mid part of the sleeve, I'm going to use a smoking thread. I think that's what it's called. I'm going to use a smoking thread on the sleeve. And for the side of the sleeve, I'm going to gather it. I'm going to just sew a straight line and gather the side of the sleeve. Also, I have an extra pattern for the sleeves. This will help me to know the exact length of my sleeve when I'm done with the smoking and gathering of the sleeve. This is what it looks like once I was done using smoking thread on the middle part of the sleeve. So what I'm going to do next is to gather the side of the sleeve. I'm going to place my sleeve on the extra sleeve pattern that I made. So when I gather it, I'm going to make sure it is the exact length of my sleeve. Like I said, get a gathering foot if you can. This took a lot of time, and trust me, I did not even want to make this. I just want to dump it by the side. After I was done gathering the sleeve, and I also checked that it is the same length as my pattern, I'm going to just stitch it up. After doing that, I will be attaching the sleeve to my bodice. So guys, this is how it looks like once I was done with it. To be frank, I actually did not like the outcome of this, but it's not that bad. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Bye for now.